Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 4 USFL Power Rankings. So, going over the results in Week 3 briefly before we get into the Power Rankings. So, the Breakers beat the Stallions in a shootout, 45-31. The Gamblers beat the Showboats 30-26. The Maulers beat the Stars 21-13. And the Gamblers knocked off the Panthers 28-13. So, this week's rankings, at number 8, I've got the Memphis Showboats. They've been brutal to start the season. They were now the league's only winless team after they suffered a 30-26 defeat against the Gamblers. Now, the Showboats, they had an opportunity to win. They took the lead away with minute 54 left. They were up 26-23, but they couldn't hold on to the lead as they let the Gamblers go right down the field and score the game-winning touchdown. Now, the Showboats did look better than in Week 2 when they lost 42-2 to the Stallions, but still a very bad start to the season. They're the only winless team in the USFL. And they enter number 8 in my power rankings. Up next for the for the Showboats is the Panthers in Michigan. Coming in at number 7, we've got the Pittsburgh Maulers. So they picked up their first win of the season with a 20-13 win over the Stars. Their defense was great once again. They held the Stars to just 13 points. It forced 3 turnovers and got 3 sacks as well. Now, offensively, the Maulers finally scored an offensive touchdown. It only took them 3 weeks to do so. And they may have found something at quarterback because quarterback Troy Williams got his first start of the season, and he wasn't great, but his mobility definitely adds another element to the offense. And, I mean, you can take anything to that offense when their offense is that bad. Troy Williams finished the game with 96 passing yards and 65 rushing yards. Now, the Maulers also got a great performance from their new kicker, a former NFL kicker, in Chris Blewett, and he did not blow it. He actually went 5 of 5 on field goals, including a 50-yard field goal, earning him Special Teams Player of the Week. And he really was a big part in how the Maulers picked up their first win of the season. Now, the Maulers, they could be a really good team because their defense, I would say, is the best in the league. But because their offense is so bad, they are only 1-2. But if their offense can figure things out and their defense continues to play how they are, this Maulers team is going to be really scary. But the Maulers enter at number 7. But they could be argued for higher. Number 6, we've got the Houston Gamblers. So they picked up their first win of the season as they beat the Showboats by a score of 30-26. Offensively, they were good once again. That's now back-to-back weeks with at least 30 points on the board. Now, their offense also looked good, and so did quarterback Kenji Bahar. He had another multi-touchdown game with 2 touchdowns and 235 passing yards. And running back Mark Thompson made his season debut, and he was great for the Gamblers with 81 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, the Gamblers still need help defensively as they've now given up 38 and 26 in back-to-back weeks. And they gave up 26. Well, 26 doesn't look that bad. It does look pretty bad when you consider it's the Showboats and their offense really isn't great. Now, the Gamblers' offense could definitely give us some high-scoring, entertaining games, and they could definitely end up winning a few of those because of how good their offense is, but their defense could definitely use some help. Gamblers come in at number 6. Number 5 is the Philadelphia Stars. So they suffered yet another loss, and they fall to 1-2 on the season after a 20-13 loss to the Maulers. Their offense struggled once again due to bad offensive line play. Quarterback Case Cookers was sacked 3 times, and the Stars once again had no run game. They averaged just 1 yard a carry as they had 18 carries for 18 yards. And the Stars have not been able to run the football all season long, as they have averaged just 52 rushing yards per game through the first 3 weeks. So in conclusion, offensively, the Stars need an offensive line. Now, defensively, the Stars, they were good. Now, they were playing the Maulers. That should definitely be noted because of how bad the Maulers' offense is. But they allowed 21 points, they generated 5 sacks defensively, and the Stars really need to turn the season around before it's too late. And they enter my power rankings number 5, but you could argue that that's generous, and they could be lower. Number 4 in my power rankings, we've got the Michigan Panthers. So they played in front of their home crowd for the first time this season, and the crowd did not disappoint. One of the better attended games for the USFL this season. The Panthers, on the other hand, they did disappoint. They lost to the Generals 28-13. They didn't play a great game. They could not stop the Generals' offense and specifically their rushing attack, allowing 198 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Offensively, the Panthers, they really just couldn't get much going. Their run game was solid with 114 yards and 5 yards a carry, but it was not enough, and the Panthers were only able to generate 13 points, which was obviously not enough for them to get the win. But the Panthers do have a good opportunity to get the win in front of their home crowd for the first time this season, as they play the Winless Showboats next week. But the Panthers come in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we've got the New Jersey Generals. So they finally had a great performance this season. They were great on all aspects of the game, especially offensively and especially on the ground. They had almost 200 rushing yards, and they seemed to figure out the quarterback position, at least for now, as DeAndre Johnson was 10 of 15 passing for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Plus, he was their leading rusher with 98 yards and a touchdown. Defensively, the Generals were great, holding the Panthers to just 13 points. And the Generals look like they could be a threat in the USFL after a slow start, and they're hitting their stride at the right time, as next week they play the undefeated New Orleans Breakers. Generals coming at number 3. Number 2 is the Birmingham Stallions. So they suffered their first loss of the season after a 45-31 loss to the Breakers in a highly entertaining, highly competitive game, especially for the first 3 quarters. Offensively, the Stallions relied heavily on the passing attack as they could not get anything going on the ground for just 46 yards on 13 carries. But Alex McGough was good with 238 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, but the Stallions were not able to keep up offensively. Defensively, they struggled to get off the field at the Breakers, had nearly 40 minutes of possession of the football, and they could not stop the Breakers' rushing attack as they ran for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, the Stallions are still one of the best teams in the USFL, and one loss doesn't really change how I view them. They're still one of the top teams, if not the best, although record-wise they're not the best at the moment, but they come in at number 2 after their loss to the Breakers. And coming in at number 1, we've got the New Orleans Breakers. So they jump up to number 1 after a big win over the Stallions, winning 45-31. They're now the only remaining undefeated team in the USFL. The addition of quarterback McLeod Bethel-Thompson in the offseason has really taken their offense to another level. Their passing attack's been great, their rushing attack's been great, their whole offense has been great over the first 3 weeks. And they had a great game, putting up 45 points in the win over the Stallions. McLeod Bethel-Thompson threw for 283 yards and 3 touchdowns, and running back Wes Hill is spectacular with 191 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. In fact, Hill is now the league's leading rusher with 301 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns in the first 3 games. Now, the Breakers, they do need to have a defense because they cannot be allowing 30-plus points in every game, but their offense seems to be able to outscore literally every other team in the USFL. So I wouldn't be too worried about the Breakers needing to figure out things defensively because of how good their offense is, but figuring things out defensively would definitely not be a bad idea for the Breakers. But they're the only undefeated team in the USFL, and they're number 1 in my power rankings after 3 weeks. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn notifications to notice every upcoming videos. I do my best to post as often as possible. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my Week 4 USFL power rankings, disagree, and why. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.